Mhm. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys could join us once again. For those tuning in on the simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad you all can be with us. Going to bring in our friends over on Instagram so they can be a part of our conversation. And last but certainly not least, going to connect with our friends over on Amazon Live. I'm very excited about this next segment. One of the guests we're going to be speaking with, I've interviewed him now for over a decade on our radio show, Conversations Live, but he's making his first appearance with us here on Amazon Live. Our other guest is making his first appearance ever. I've never interviewed Chris Washburn before, but I'm excited about today. And we're now live on the Amazon Live platform with Cyrus Ware Presents. If you guys are new to us on Amazon, welcome. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button, either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the book by our next guest. So excited to welcome Chris Washburn as well as Ron Chepesiuk to our broadcast today. They're the authors of this book, Out of Bounds. You all can see here. I have the print edition. You also can get the Kindle edition right now for only $2.99 here on Amazon. We're going to talk to Chris not only about telling his story, but also what it's been like for Ron to help to be able to share the story and what they hope you're able to take away from it. Chris, Ron, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Look, the pleasure is definitely all mine. Chris, I
Thanks
want
for
to
having
begin
me.
with you. It is your first time on with us. What has it been like for you to see the way that people are responding to your story, but also the perspective you have now of telling your story?
Well, it feels good. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on.
Sure.
But for it feels good finally to tell my story, being in a position to tell my story. Meaning that I had all my facts and my mind was correct at this time. But also, I hope I'm glad the book is helping people. A lot of
Mm,
folks have contacted me, let me know that one, they didn't know why I went through as much as I went through.
yeah.
And two, that they are glad that I made it out, but also, they've also shared some things that they've gone through themselves, privately. Like I tell a lot of folks, a lot of people are not privy to have, their whole life in front of people. You know what I'm saying? A lot of
Right.
folks go through things behind closed doors because they're not, an athlete or a person of on TV and things like that. But to
Mhm.
have my story out there now, seeing that it can help other people in situations just like mine, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, love that. Ron, as I mentioned, I've had the privilege of interviewing you several times. I went back and looked. You first appeared on the radio show with me back in 2011, which is
Oh yeah,
crazy to think about.
we've
But
been
Ron,
we've
I'm
been
used.
around that long.
Yeah,
We've been
yeah,
around that long.
right, exactly. But Ron, we're used to talking about true crime. But what is it that drew you to Chris's story that made you want to help tell the story to the world?
Well, I knew a little bit about Chris before I met with him. I'm a big basketball fan, and
Okay.
ACC is the conference in my area of the country. I live in a small town called Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm in Bogota, Colombia right now. But I knew about Chris, and one day a mutual friend, G.L. Henderson, asked if I wanted to. He called me up and he started talking, and he mentioned that he had his friend Chris Washburn. I said, Chris, Washburn, is that the player that used to play for North Carolina State? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, he's got a book, he's got a story, and he told me a little bit about it, and it sort of jogged my memory. And I said, wow. And I said, that's really interesting. And at the time, I was looking for another book to do.
Mm,
I was particularly thinking of true crime, but he said, did you want to meet with Chris? And so we met at a restaurant in Charlotte, which was sort of halfway between his home in Hickory and my home in Rock Hill. And we sort of talked, and he told me a little bit about his story. And the more he talked, the more he got interested in it because it had a great character arc. He started off with great promise, and he went through, terrible tragedy, and then he recovered, which is
mhm.
redemption.
Right.
So I thought it was really, really interesting. So I said, okay, let's do the book, and we signed it up, and it took us about 8 months to write it and
Wow.
publish it.
Mm. It's a fascinating story, Chris. Unlike Ron, I'm not the sports guy in my family. I'm the nerd in my family. So my brother's a sports guy. So my brother knew who you were. So
Okay.
Chris, my introduction to you was really through the book. But I should say, oh, and as a side note, I'm broadcasting from Mississippi. I should let our audience know Philadelphia, Mississippi makes an appearance in Chris's book. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. But but Chris, I want to talk to you about the arc that Ron just mentioned because again, as someone like myself who was ignorant to your story, I knew nothing about it. What was so empowering to me as a reader reading this is how you were so honest about your own feelings, but also about the journey of not giving up. Where does that resilience come from, Chris? Because there's some people who, haven't gone through half of what you've had to go through, especially not in the public eye. What do you think has
Correct.
helped you to not give up along the way?
Believe it or not, being an athlete helped me not give up because again, it gave me that attitude of I'm not gonna let this beat me. And so again, I had to, so I had to bet on myself this time. A
Yeah.
lot of times people bet on other people. So, but this time I had to bet on myself, and it was something I thought I could do. I just had to actually just buckle down and again believe in me and stop listening to other people.
Love that. Love that. Hello to you guys over on Instagram. Wendy Arsad, hello to you. One Truly Me, hello to you. See you guys over there on YouTube as well. If you guys have any questions for Chris or Ron, make sure you guys put those in the chat. Again, the book Out of Bounds is out now. You all can get the paperback as I have it here for $14.98, or you can get the Kindle edition, I'll holler for you guys, for $2.99. So, Chris, I want to ask you this question, because one of the things that comes out in the book, again, me not knowing your story, is how, you were a person who you weren't defined by success. You weren't defined about being a basketball star. Where did that belief in yourself overall come from? Because there are some people that feel like they're not anybody unless everybody knows who they are. They're not anyone unless they're on television, right, or on the biggest stage. You seem to have a really clear picture of your worth not being tied to something. What helped you with that?
Believe it or not, being an only child, because I've always wanted to be around other people and have friends around. So, with sports being a, a, a way for me to connect with other people, was one of the reasons. And also, it gave me a chance to meet. As I started getting better and better, I started getting more friends off the court. And that's all an only child wants a lot of times, just friends. So again, I never got too big, that where, sports, well, I'm Chris Washburn, what I'm saying? It's an honor to be around me. I always still kept that mentality that everybody's on an equal playing field. Even to this day, when I meet a person, I give them 100% respect. So again, you have to chip away from that respect from me instead of a lot of people. You have to prove yourself to them and to gain that respect. You get your respect from me immediately. The only way you lose it is by doing different things. So I guess that's my mentality, because again, I just never ever dreamed that big. I guess once being on TV, being from a small town where I'm from, but then also once I got there, I just kept the same mentality.
Love that. Ron, one thing that fascinated me about the way this book is written is, yes, it's Chris's story, but you wrote it in a way that is so true to you, in that we're able to get a story outside of Chris's. It's almost like, we're able to see his story unfold, hear from people who knew him, and then hear his perspective. How did you decide how you wanted to be able to help tell the story?
Well, it's really interesting. The way I wrote it, I'm a big fan of Nicholas Pileggi, who's a true crime writer. He did Wise Guy, Casino, and I wrote it like that. And when I started to interview Chris, a lot of times you have to really pry information out of people. Chris was so quotable, and he knew his story so well that I thought, hey, I should maybe tell it through his person and rely more on what he tells me than what I'm going to tell about him. Yeah. So that's the style I did, and I used narrative just to move the story along. But a large part of the book is right out of Chris's mouth, and it's really quotable and really interesting.
Yeah, Chris, I want to talk about. I mentioned Philadelphia, Mississippi. I did not realize again that part of your story. But you had gotten down so low that you were not. We won't spoil all of it for our audience, but where you had decided that stealing basically was what you needed to do to be able to make it. Unfortunately, you did this in Mississippi, and as you gave this some context, as the Philadelphia, Mississippi, and of course, unfortunately, some of the dark history of that city and our state. One of the things you said that really struck me, and I remembered it long after I read it, was how fortunate you were to have made it out of that, because that could have gone a totally different way. What was that? Because you had other incidents like that too. What was that like for you to look at how the blessing of your even still being here is, depending on the
Well,
different things you went through?
well, you know what? The main thing is what helped me really in that situation, and a lot of kids don't understand being versatile as far as with different, races. Because playing elementary ball and all that stuff growing up, I dealt with, white kids, white
Mhm.
teammates and all that. And so being in front of three white men didn't really bother me or make me nervous. Again, I didn't know where I was at, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But again, I didn't, a lot of times kids today, when they run across authority figures, they still want to stand their ground and talk crazy to people.
yeah,
When I knew I was in the wrong, in Mississippi, first of all, I apologized. And a
mhm,
lot of times kids don't understand just an apology will break walls down. And
right,
so I apologized, first of all, and admitted what I had done wrong. But then also I told them what I had done wrong and why I had done it.
mhm,
And they understood, like I said, again, a lot of times a person my size, like I said, is almost 7 foot, 300 pounds, a little over 300 pounds probably back then. And these guys were just, 5'10", maybe 5'11", average size people, a man, but they're an authority figure. But again, like I said, I'm
yeah,
in Philadelphia, Mississippi, not knowing the background or anything like that. But I
right.
just think my willingness to yes sir and no sir and all that, and let them understand that I was leaving that city just as soon as I could, kind of got me out of that situation.
Yeah. One other thing as you were talking, Chris, that I remember from that scene, and again, it goes to the way that you were able to tell it, but also, Ron helping to really bring it to life. And they in that scenario, they ask you, why didn't you ask for help? Why didn't you ask? And you said in the book, I'll paraphrase, I didn't have anyone to ask. I want to talk about that in other instances too, because I think asking for help is not easy for anybody. For us as men, it definitely is not easy. When you kind of reflect back, how has it helped you though to be able to say, I need help and that, I can't do this on my own?
You know what? The main thing was when a person needs help, they don't want to ask because, especially a person like myself that at one time was top player in the country,
Mhm.
any team I was on, I was one of the captains or at least the second person you would come to and ask for different things off the team. And so now I fall into a place where, the people that I actually knew didn't know about this lifestyle. So I didn't
Right.
know who to ask,
Mhm.
but what gets me, because a lot of my friends today, I still have the same friends from way back up until the day. How many of them would always say, I wanted to come and do something, man, but you just never said nothing. And I always say sometimes you just have to step in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, man, you're doing bad. You know what I'm saying? What can we do to help you? You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
luckily, you know what I'm saying, and then sometimes those people don't make it out of those situations. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Luckily I made it through that situation. So now when I tell my friend, I wanted to come to you, man, it's just I didn't think you understood that. You know, and I understand now that a closed mouth can't get fed. A ball fits can't get help.
Yeah.
And so now I said, if I have any kind of situation, if I can't take care of the situation in my household, I'll find somebody else. As they say, I'll find somebody else smarter than me in the room to get that information. So it's nothing wrong these days in asking for help. You know what I'm saying? The dumbest thing is not asking for help when you know you need it.
Right. Such a great point. Ron, you mentioned that you knew Chris's story, but as you were hearing it from him, though, what surprised you the most about what he had gone through and what he had come out of?
That he was still alive.
Wow.
I mean, when he told me the story, we had several meetings. We had some meetings at his house, and then we met over Zoom and all that. And the more he got into his story, I kept thinking to myself, how is this guy alive? Because
Yeah.
there were so many points in his life where it could have ended.
Right.
Yeah, Chris had like 14 felonies.
Mm.
People don't know that. He spent 3 years in prison in Texas on that. He did drugs in some of the toughest parts of Atlanta, the projects, and I lived in Atlanta. I went to school there, so I know a little bit about it.
Mm.
And, he was shot in the leg and he still survived. So the thing that really amazed me was is how he survived, and then not only survived, but how he made his comeback, because he really didn't look. Usually you'd find a counselor or somebody that could help you and all that. Chris essentially did it on his own. He just decided that 14 years of living on the streets, eating out of garbage cans, stealing money off of people, including his mother, wasn't going to do it anymore, and he just quit. And that was hard to understand too. When I was talking to him, I was trying to figure out, you just can't quit. I mean, that's impossible. You need help. But he did it. He just got tired of his life and turned it around.
Yeah. Chris, that leads me to the last thing I do want to ask you about. I should mention again for the book, I mentioned the title is Out of Bounds, but the subtitle is From Broken NBA Dreams to Redemption. So, Chris, what do you hope readers of the book take away from not only your journey, but also what's possible for them, no matter how deep the hole they may find themselves?
Well, I want your audience to understand that when they go to those stores like the Walmart or to the Publix or even to the local flea markets, those people standing outside asking for money or on the corners asking for money, that used to be me. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times when I see those folks, I still reach out and I give them money, not asking what they're going to use it for. You know what I'm saying? Just knowing that they need, because at one time, that was, as I said, that was me. But also, I try to help those folks because, again, you never know what story they have. You know what I'm saying? Because again, look at myself. I had a story after 14 years. I see people out there been on those streets 20, 30 years. Like imagine if somebody got behind them to kind of help them, because again, sometimes it's not always financial. Sometimes it's just listening to a person. Like I said, me being out there, I just needed somebody to understand the person. Trying to look for a person like myself, being an ex-athlete or somebody of fame, to say, how did they get out of that situation? But I never found that person out there. So I had to end up doing it myself. So like I said, a lot of times you just have to, when you're in that situation and you're actually trying to get out, you do have friends around. You have to extend your hand out and not always ask for money. My main thing is I didn't want my friends to always see me and thinking that, I'm coming for money or anything like that. So that's why I still have a lot of friends I have today, because I just kept them out of that circle. But the main thing is, if you see a person die, don't knock them. So I still see friends around in my own hometown I grew up with that are homeless now. I don't knock them in any way. If I can help them, I can help them. But I just always understand that it's a whole lot better on this side than on that side.
So true. Tobias, hello to you over there on IG. Really appreciate it. Ron, what about for yourself? What do you hope people take away from Out of Bounds when they read it?
Really, no matter how tough part of your life is, you're going through something really bad, there's always hope at the end of the tunnel. And you just got to look at Chris, because, the odds against him recovering were really against him. I mean, he was at the end of everything after 14 years, but somehow he managed to turn his life around, and he's doing great now. I mean, he's got a beautiful wife, and he's got a great home and great friends. And so, there's always, at the end of the tunnel, there's always redemption, and there's always, hope for the future. So I think that's part of the great thing about Chris. It's an inspiring story. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, it really is. Again, everyone, really so glad that you all could be on with us. Again, everyone, we've been speaking with Chris Washburn. Also, we have Ron Chepesiuk joining us as well. The book is called Out of Bounds. It's available here on Amazon, both in print and the Kindle edition. So make sure you guys do get your copy of it. Ron, Chris, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to our next chat together.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Look, the pleasure.
Sorry, can I say one thing right quick?
Oh, of course. Yeah, definitely. Chris, go ahead.
If you'd like to get a signed copy of the book, you go to my website, which is CW Enterprises with an S, TAC.com. Again, that's CW Enterprises, TAC.com. And on there, we have a different price, but you get a signed copy with your name or whoever name you like in the book.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Chris. Really appreciate it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you, Cyrus.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys. Really great conversation with you.
Oh, great.